Good evening. It's now 6:01 p.m. on August 31st, 2017, and it's time to call this special called meeting of the Board of Trustees of San Felipe Del Rio CISD to order. Ms. Haynes, would you call roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Chavita?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mrs. Martinez-Lozano?
Here.
Mr. Overfeld?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Here.
And Mr. Smith?
Present.
Myself?
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. We have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Let the record show that a quorum of the board members are present and this meeting has been duly called and notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. This time, if you please stand for opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This evening, we go straight to 6 reports. Health insurance report, Ms. Yannicani Valdez.
President Overfeld, Dr. Rios, board members, good evening. This is a presentation that was presented at the last board meeting on health insurance. Again, the 2017-2018 annual contribution per employee of $5,279.40 is included in the 2017-2018 budget. Our health insurance plan will change to a start date of September 1st, September 1st, 2017 to January 1st, 2018. And we have initiated the RFP for the aggregate stop loss. We have a closing date of September 18th. The next two options were presented at the last meeting as the different option A and option B to represent what a stipend would look like for employee-only benefits. And on option B would be if we took the reduction of the stop-loss insurance and applied it to all of the dependent plans. So again, under option A, employee-only would be approximately $119.12 per month. And that's what we were averaging the stipend to be for all the plans. And on the last columns, it shows the change by tier plan. And on option B, if we maintained the $156.89 per employee per month and reduced the dependent plans, this last column shows what the net change per month would be if we applied a stipend of $156.89. In the board agenda, we have the item requesting an update to the stipends listing. That is the agenda item where we will determine what stipend would be approved as a return to work stipend to help offset the cost of health insurance. Again, option A and option B are the same plans that were presented at the last meeting, where we would be maintaining the same deductible levels and the same plan designs, which would include office visit copays. Are there any questions at this time?
Any questions or comments from the board?
Well, I'm still not understanding how we got to this point so abruptly. And maybe I missed something during the past 30 days, but 3 weeks ago, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier this week. 3 weeks ago, we were we were talking about the district not sharing the burden of this increase. And now we're talking about the district absorbing the full burden, whether it's option A or B. The full burden would fit on of the increase would fit on the district in some shape, form, or fashion. I still don't understand how that pendulum went so far in one direction without meeting some compromise in the middle. I'm at a loss with that.
Mhm.
Mr. Smith, make sure this is on. Let me use this on now. Mr. Smith, as we met with the committees and had group conversations with the board, we reviewed different options. The board asked the administration to consider a budget that would provide for the same plan at no cost to the employees as an option. And I've met with the board collectively, and I've received communication from board members individually. And
Yeah, I happen to be one of them.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
And really, for the record, I think I've met with every board member individually to get feedback from them at one point or another. Maybe not as in depth with everybody, but I know that there was significant requests to bring forth these options. And like I mentioned at the last board meeting, the options that are before you have a return to work stipend that would cover the cost of the insurance for the individual member. But again, they're options. If you're looking for a recommendation from the administration, we're going to provide recommendations based on what we're asked to produce. I don't think the board has ever, other than responding to the presentations we've made, I don't think that we have collectively as a team of 8 provided a clear direction as to what we want. I am responding to comments that have been made here on the dais and conversations that I've had with board members individually. Now, collectively, I don't think we've had that conversation, but I know that what I presented today, and what I came up with, I did because I was providing clear direction on what options they wanted to see. But these are options.
They are options that just either option is full burden on the district. And my interpretation of that, I'm not taking whether it's 1.7 or whether it's 1.3, I'm not taking that lightly. And technically there's no obligation that we have to absorb any of it, right?
Correct.
So it's similar to, we're going to have some gas prices that are going to go up. It's not the district's responsibility to cover the gap because gas prices go up. Same thing here. It does not mean that I don't want the district to share in it and even accept the full burden if I firmly believe that the students inside our school system are not going to suffer something because of it. And what I think I'm hearing is that there are improvements that you're wanting to do that you're going to have to go back and reevaluate where that funding comes from based on this decision. And I'm uncomfortable with that, especially when I don't have another option to go for.
If I may, Ms. Valdez, can you come to the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Just very quickly review for me, in option B, we would provide a back-to-work stipend of exactly how much per month per employee?
$156.89.
Okay. And in option A?
$119.12.
Okay. Now, these are the options that we have before you. There is nothing to say that the board can't discuss and that a board member can't make a recommendation that the stipend be increased or decreased, and that everybody expresses their wishes before you take a vote. But again, that's the wishes of the board. We just made the scenario work financially for this coming year and the following year. We know in talking to members of the committees and even talking to board members what increasing the deductible would do, what increasing the copay would do in terms of employees and their children or dependents being able to go comfortably to the doctor, knowing what they were going to pay. But if your concern is the district bearing the whole financial burden, you know,
Well,
the board
that
can-
and also that it would reduce our effectiveness to educate our kids, which is what I think that you said last time, is that projects like Cardwell would have to be totally reevaluated based on us accepting this burden. Okay, so that changes the equation for me quite a bit. If we had what do we got, Young County? $11 million worth of reserve by the end of the year, and this is going to consume about 14% of that reserve.
As of the latest printout, I have a little over 12 million of excess fund balance.
Okay. What was it last year?
The excess fund balance last year? I'd have to pull that up, sir. Sorry.
More than 12 million?
I don't think so. We had, because we had already committed, the excess fund balance would be your excess to the minimum. And when, I'd have to look at, just looking at the fund balance less the minimum to identify the excess, but we did have more than 12, but when we committed projects, we have less of an excess. The formula just works that way, but I can pull up the audit report too.
Well, very simply stated, Mr. Smith, from the excess fund balance, we didn't dip into any of the excess fund balance, but quite the opposite. We returned committed funds that we didn't use. For example, $2.25 million for the purchase and development of land. The roofing projects that were covered by the
Insurance recovery,
we returned that money. So the fund balance grew, but not because we added money to the budget. No, this year we didn't spend $700,000 of the budget y'all approved. That's the only increase that was due to any type of savings or efficiencies. But the excess fund balance will only increase when we don't budget appropriately. And we've done a really good job the last 4 years. So we cannot expect for the excess fund balance to increase. When we dip into it, we're dipping into it. And we've done a really good job of budgeting for what we're going to use and gotten better every year. So no, it's not going to increase. And to answer or respond to your earlier comment, I made it public and I made it clear to the board that as a superintendent, I know with a high degree of certainty that the way that we're going to improve our outcomes at the high school is by improving our middle school instruction. And I've communicated to the board on numerous occasions that the only obstacle left in the district that I can see, that we can see as a leadership team, is improving middle school instruction, and that's why it's so important to reduce middle school. The pathway to reducing middle school is by reinstating or having an additional elementary school to spread out the sixth grade students and then form another middle school. I made that clear. And I stand by it, and I think that any instructional expert or school organization expert would stand by it. There's no doubt in my mind. Without funds, that becomes more difficult. And I made that clear months ago.
Yep.
But the board also made clear to me options for a health insurance plan. And we've done that. I don't want to get between two sides of the board. I just want to be able to communicate the issues clearly. And
Thank you for that. So from my perspective, I'd like to see another option that has a shared responsibility between option A and B.
okay, I need to ask the board president a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Overvelt, when we make the recommendation on the fund balance commitments, would it be appropriate for any board member to make a recommendation amending our recommendation on the commitments and see how the board would vote on it?
I don't know. This is why I expressed a month ago that this needed to be all figured out before we passed the budget. And now we're in this predicament there. I would have to either recess for X amount of minutes so I can call council about it, or take opinions from the rest of the board on that. I'd rather call council though. So that's my thought. I don't know if anyone else who's served as president of this board before has been up against this.
That would be the thing to do. Instead of asking for
We can make any recommendation. I mean, a member of the board can make any recommendation. And then it either dies for the lack of support, or I don't believe we are at this point, though. My concern is, may I address Mr. Smith?
Sure.
Mr. Smith, I hear clearly what you're saying. We definitely made a complete turn, because we were at a point, and I say we, I don't mean to speak for my fellow board members, but my understanding was that the majority of the board felt it would be important for the employee, the staff member, to share part of that premium burden. However, after hearing from many of our employees, especially our hourly, our paras, there was great concern about that. So we came back and took that into consideration and asked the administration to consider other alternatives, other options, other things that we might be able to afford. Is it ideal? No. I mean, the rest of the country is having to pay more out of pocket for health coverage. We know that. But from where my perspective is, I don't feel we completely and thoroughly explained to a level that everyone understood how this would impact each individual staff member, employee. So I don't believe, and I'll say this honestly, if we're going to be able to pay 100% of the premium for the rest of eternity, we have limited resources. So I think moving forward, I would charge the administration to try to figure out how we might be able to have a win-win situation. Now, what helped me actually make the decision that I do think it's important to be able to support this return to work stipend is when Dr. Rios and Yanakani explained about the stop loss. The savings we will make there help to
It does help
cover.
It does help offset.
Right.
About
So
what,
where
30%?
that would be an offset, it would be similar to the offset that we would ask the employees to pay. That's the way I saw it. I don't know if that helps you, if that makes it worse, I don't know.
No, I understand.
Thank you for letting me share that.
Let me share. I know we've had plenty of discussion here in open sessions, as well as discussions individually with our superintendent. And I have expressed that, there's no way that hourly wage and clerical and paraprofessional can afford an increase such as this. This is why every time salary surveys are done and there's a recommendation for an increase, we should start with the hourly wage instead of starting with administration or professionals. They're affected quite a bit by this big increase. And yes, I think administration has looked into everything from, stopping, or not renewing the stop loss carrier, which is quite a large amount. And all of us, again, are elected by citizens of this community, and we heard it loud and clear from individuals that got organized and are really taking the brunt of this insurance increase. But again, administration has come up with two plans, and I think we're ready to take a vote tonight. I think it's quite late in the year. It's the end of the month. We need to approve the budget, and I think administration and everyone has done a whole lot of work between meetings, and we have come up with these two options at this point. Just wanted to express that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
and I can see where Ms. Smith is coming from. Any money that we take to spend elsewhere is going to take from the educational process that we have in our responsibility. But then too, our responsibility is for the employees as well as for the students. But our main concern is the students. And and it's hard, and I would invite all the people that are involved in this insurance to be present for the whole year, not when we start hearing that it's going to cost us more, so that they can understand. Because there's so many variables that affects the cost. And it's going to be a time, if the funding doesn't change, where we're not going to be able to afford 100%. And Mr. Smith and I were discussing that. It's going to be a fun, where it's going to have to be a split burden, whether we like it or not. But again, we're at a point right now, like Mr. Smith was saying, expressing himself, that it's kind of late, and the decisions have been made, and now we have an option, two options, either A or B. So I'm ready for a vote, even though, spending, what is it, 2 million, 2 point something?
1,781,000 for the $156 stipend.
That money could be very well used for what Dr. Rios was expressing as far as at another elementary, so that we could get another junior high. It's going to have to wait because it's important, and like I said, we're at the end, and we need to go last day. So I'm ready for the question.
Any other comments down here?
The same. I agree. We've discussed. We've met. I mean, we've listened, and they've worked with the committees have expressed themselves as well. And it's just time to make the recommendation and vote on it.
When administration makes its recommendation here in a bit, when we get to that, if there's an addendum by the board, then we'll take that as it is. and see where it goes, if anyone wants to do that. Are there any other questions or concerns for administration or Ms. Valdez that we need to clarify before we move on? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say one more thing, and then I'll be quiet, promise. You know, the 1.8, Mr. Chavira, you mentioned something about, you know, we might be able to use that money to help Dr. Rios work on standing up a magnet middle school to pull some of the kids out of the middle school. Yeah, that is a lot of money, but it's not sufficient enough to build an elementary school, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the community didn't come out and back the bond, and so we find ourselves in this situation. So holding our employees, I don't want to say, for the lack of a better word, hostage, I really think it's a good move with the monies we do have to support our employees. We were able to capture some of those monies again from the stop-loss savings, which I don't know that we would have been able to really do it without that. I mean, that's a significant chunk. So I just wanted to say
Yeah,
that
it's
that
about-
1.8 won't go
about
too
what?
far.
From a percentage standpoint, that stop loss is how much, 30%?
It was almost $1 million, so a little less than of the revenue that we're projected to reach. It would be a little less than 10%.
But what percentage is it of the overall insurance cost that we were projecting before, Ms. Valdez? Before, to make the program whole, we were looking at 2.6 million, I believe, and this brought it down to,
I believe we were at we were looking at a 3.3 million increase before. This brought it down to 2.5.
okay, so what percentage is that of the three?
Oh, that would be almost, 33% of that, of the
Yeah.
change.
Pretty close to what I said, 30%.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was thinking of the total insurance
Yeah.
budget.
Okay,
Okay,
I just
of the
wanted to,
change. Thank
About
you.
30%.
I understood, I just wanted to,
I'm sorry, thank you.
And that kind of, I think, without having actually gone through the entire process, we wouldn't know how much we would have asked the employees to pay. But I can't imagine it would have been much more than that. I'll be quiet.
So just for my rudimentary math skills there, if administration recommends B, the employee will see on their paycheck $156.89 deduction for healthcare, but there will also be $156.89 extra built into the paycheck before tax.
The salary, the wages, the stipend would be before tax. The cafeteria plan expenditures for the health insurance would be before tax.
So theoretically, it zeros.
It is on a separate line on the W-2, which may have something different for individual employees, but that I do not know exactly how that works.
But what I'm getting at is, if that's the recommendation, that's the way it goes. The first deduction will happen September 15
No, sir.
or January?
It starts
15?
January 15, and the 156.89 is per month.
Okay, so the first deduction would be half of that 156 starting on January 15, so $78 or so, give or take, there. Because I want everyone to be prepared that you're going to see a deduction for health insurance of 78 something, but that stipend is built in theoretically it is zeroing everything out. You're not gonna see a zero in the health insurance side anymore, like we do, like it does right now, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just want everybody to be very, very clear on that it's gonna show something, but that stipend is built into the salary. If it's an employee and spouse, they will, at 186.09, they would be paying with the stipend effectively $29.20
More
for
per
their
month.
health insurance. And employee and family, with the stipend, they would be paying $96.84 for their health insurance
Per month on the basic plan, yes.
on the basic plan,
Yes.
which a huge percentage of everyone is on our basic plans.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then those two who are currently on the high plan, employee and family, instead of it being $1,100 with the stipend and everything that's going on, they will pay $165.98, correct?
If
322, and then the stipend at
the
165.
the net change, yes,
The net change.
165.
Right,
yes.
okay. Okay. To put that in perspective for what this district's getting ready to do for the employees, there's a neighboring district that I just heard today is going to, I think, starting September 1 or January 1, I don't know what they're doing, it's going to $1,500 a month is what they will be paying, the employee.
The employee.
Yeah, so to put that in perspective, that's what we're going to do for our employees. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No, I think what you just brought up, Josh, is a phenomenal point, because I believe that the district, if we took option A or option B, either one, it is, in comparison, a bargain for our employees. It's a good deal for our employees. The market for this in the job market, this is pretty good. And that's kind of getting back to my point again, and I feel like that at some point in time it becomes an issue. At some point in time it becomes, what's the obligation? I've thought about opting out of voting, but I'm gonna vote, and I'll support it. I'm not anti-employee. I feel like that we've got some challenges this year that we've made some great progress before. A lot of decisions made by this board and by the superintendent over the past 3 to 5 years that are paying grave dividends. And I want to keep that ball rolling. And if this has a negative impact to that, then that's where I'm feeling uncomfortable going forward. And so I'll vote for it. It feels like the board, the rest of the board is in favor of taking the full burden. So I'll put a vote in on it. Anyway, just leaves a little soreness in my stomach, because I feel like that we've accomplished a lot. Y'all accomplished a lot before I came on the team, and I don't want to see this step in the way of improving the environment on our campus for the education of our kids. So, end of discussion.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Any other questions, comments before we move to the rest of the agenda items? Mr. Chavita?
And the only thing that I want to add is that everybody should notice that we're here to help out. I said at the meeting that in the process of trying to help, we might hurt somebody, but we don't ever intentionally go out there to hurt anybody. We make comments and whatnot, people might misunderstand what we're trying to do, but everything that we do is for the benefit of the employee and very, very much the student.
Yep.
And we have done, as a group here, as a team of 8, well, actually, it's a team of about 15 people here because the cabinet that works with the superintendent, it's great, and we have accomplished a whole lot, and hoping that we continue to do so. So I thank everybody for contributing.
Mr. Chairman, may I add something?
Yes.
For the sake of the community, we do need to speak in the microphone so everybody can hear, because I know that everybody's trying to find out what we're saying, and really, these are recorded, and I want to ask if Mr. Smith, if you could speak a little bit louder, because I couldn't hear a lot of the conversation. I just would like to make sure that everybody understands what is going on at this table.
Yep.
Please, thanks.
Anything else? Ms. Valdez, anything else to add from
Yes,
your
sir.
report?
Yes, sir. We do have a communication plan. After this meeting, the communication plan will be initiated based on what is approved, but we do have a communication plan. We do have a calendar that will be shared with all the employees. We will send it out via email, and it will be on our website, on the health insurance employee benefits website. And again, we will be reaching out to all the different employees. But the very first event that we will have, where we will be hosting information sessions, will be at our health fair, which will be September 12th.
Very good. And because of that, I would hope that as several of us here have charged administration, making sure that everybody in the next 3 months knows what's coming. Because I know not everybody has access to email and work different schedules, and that tends to get lost in translation a whole lot. So I know we would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Awesome. Nothing under consent agenda, administration, curriculum, instruction, and technology. That takes us to 11, business and finance. Consideration to approve the update to the 2017-18 stipend schedule for the back to work stipend. And in looking at the updated packet that was placed at the, the recommendation also has the dual credit
Yes, sir.
stipend on there, and that just wasn't listed on the
That is correct.
thing. So if that amendment will be made when the recommendation is said to us, we would appreciate that. So consideration to approve an update to the 2017-18 stipend schedule for back to work stipend. Ms. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Overfelt. We have the return to work stipend identified under the supplemental stipend listing. And we also have under the teacher stipend listing that we'd like to add the stipend for dual credit. This is an EEIP funded stipend. However, I missed adding it when we presented our stipend schedules at our last meeting on August 28th. Now, at this time, the only information that I would need is what stipend would be recommended for the return to work stipend. I could read it with the amount that's included in option B first, and then we could go from that direction. Okay?
We'll take option B first.
Yes, sir. Okay. For option B, the return to work stipend would be $156.89. And as I also mentioned, we also are including the dual credit stipend. So it would be the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approves the 2017-2018 revisions to the supplemental stipend schedule with a return to work stipend of $156.89, and the teacher stipend schedule with the dual credit stipend from EEIP.
Thank you. We've heard the recommendation. I so move. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Chavita. Any other discussion? All in favor? 6 in favor. Against? Abstentions? I got 6. Was it a yes, no, or an abstention, Mr. Smith?
No.
6 in favor, 1 against. Motion passes. B, consideration to approve. Consideration to approve the 2016-17 final amended budgets for the general operating, debt service, and food service funds. Ms. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Overflow. Again, the final meeting of the fiscal year today is when we present our final amendments. This meeting, or this agenda item is very important so that we make sure that we align all of our functional budget for audit purposes. We start off with general fund, which is page 10 of your packet, and I will try to turn it around on this screen. Okay. For general fund, we have, what we have done is we have forecasted our year-end, or we have forecasted our revenue and our expenditures. And in general fund, as you recall, we have included committed funds as well. So in the general fund, under the column titled August Proposed Changes, these are the proposed changes that we are recommending so that we have a budget at the functional level if there were to be any adjustments recommended by the auditors. That would give us enough room to make those adjustments at the functional level. I can give you some examples. We have, since we have current construction projects, we have coded all of the, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Just one moment, because I know some of the ladies need to get home to their families and all that, and I didn't want them getting up while you were talking, so if y'all
okay,
want
I'm so sorry.
to go that way, y'all can take care of your families. We appreciate it. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
The example I was mentioning is the roofing projects. We have them coded under function 81. If there is a project that the auditors feel may be better classified as function 51, they will ask us to reclass that expenditure. So again, this budget is only to align in the areas where we feel that they may make adjustments. We have reviewed in detail all of our activity. And so we've made sure that in this last 2 weeks, we've made the adjustments we feel that the auditors would have identified had we not done this. So for example, the architects that we have, Kissling, which is overseeing all of our construction projects, that one was coded to function 51. However, they're overseeing construction projects that would be classified as function 81. So we made that correction this last week. Again, we went through all of our major expenses. We went through the types of vendors that we have so that we can make sure that if anything was identified as a construction-related or maintenance-related or even instructional-related expense, we would have reclassed it. For example, the Medixoft, I think it's called Medixoft, the website, it was coded to function 41 when we initiated the project. However, it belongs under function 53, which is data processing. So again, we've made all of the corrections to make sure that the expenditures are aligned with the functional code that they fall under, and we're presenting this budget just to have enough flexibility if there is an adjustment by the auditors. So again, it does not mean we will spend anymore. It's just flexibility within the budget. The same process applies to the other funds for food service and general fund. If there's no questions on general fund, I can move over to food service as well.
Any questions on general fund at the moment?
Okay. On the food service, let me see which one's next. Yes, food service, this one's easier to read. We only have two functional codes, which is function 35 and function 51. We have, as I mentioned, forecasted what the expenditures will be. We have forecasted the revenues. At this point, I'm forecasting a deficit of 314,000, but I do not have revenue numbers for this past week of activity or of services. So again, this is just a forecast. We do anticipate that with the CEP program, we would have an increase in participation. So at this time, this is my latest forecast, but as I mentioned, what the auditors are, or what this agenda item is focused on is our functional levels, that our expenditures do not exceed our functional levels. So at this time, what we forecasted as expenditures do not exceed the functional budget that we're presenting. For food service and for debt service, we only have one functional code, which is 71. But again, we do not have any amendments there, but we do have to present it to verify that we did not have any changes for the month of August. Are there any questions for this agenda item?
Any questions on anything in here? Does the update sheet that was sent out to us earlier today for those
Commitments?
does that fall in this item?
That would be in the
That's item C?
next agenda item.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions on this one before I call for a recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2016-2017 final amended budgets, which includes the general fund, debt service fund, and food service fund.
Heard the recommendation. Is there a motion to accept? Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Lozano. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, carries. Thank you. Item C, consideration to approve a resolution to commit the fund balance of the general fund. Ms. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Overfelt. In order to be in compliance with GASB 54, the Board of Trustees must approve a resolution for commitments of fund balance from this prior year end, and this resolution should be presented at this meeting by August 31st. Again, we are required to be within a certain level of unassigned fund balance, and this does get included in our audit. We have the resolution, which was provided to you when the board packet went out. The only information that was missing from the resolution was the table to show the different committed projects. That's included on page 15. There are a few changes, I would say reductions from what we sent out this morning, but we have approximately we have a little over 5 million that we're requesting to commit. It's 5,706,217, and I will discuss each project. On inventory, this is a requirement that any inventory that we have at the warehouse at year end, we have to commit that because we haven't expensed those funds. So again, this is a requirement for commitments, is to have a commitment for your inventory balance. We average about 500,000, but as of the last report, we were at 488. For the Laughlin Elementary Magnet School, we have paid approximately 60,000 in expenses related to the Laughlin Magnet, so we're requesting to carry forward the budget for this project. We also have some roofing projects. We have received close to $5 million from insurance recovery, and from those $5 million, there are a few projects that we still have to complete. And so those are the funds that we're requesting to recommit, because we did receive those funds this prior year. For CTE, the campus is requesting a sandblaster cabinet, metal welding arms, and equipment for their HVAC program, total of $60,000. For early college high school, We are also including the parking lot, and we're estimating that at $190,788. We have included student activity buses, which based on some quotes that I received, they average about 180,000 each. This 540,000 would be for 3 student activity buses. E-rate network upgrades. This is part of technology, and this includes right when I was thinking about it, the firewall that's needed for our technology department, and some other upgrades that are related to our E-rate projects. For the stadium seating, we had sent it out earlier at a higher amount. However, Mr. Henge did the research, and we're estimating that it would be at 700,000. This is for the seating on the visitor side at the Del Rio High School stadium. Earlier, we were discussing some construction projects which involve Old Garfield and Cardwell. This commitment would be for the architect to initiate that study. This is $50,000. We are also requesting security camera upgrades, which would include replacing some of our cameras with new cameras, and video retention, which would be $220,000. And then the return to work stipend that was included in the prior agenda item of $1,781,015. Again, this stipend wouldn't start until January, and it would run through August. Again, the total is $5,706,217. What I put together was the forecast of what our fiscal year 2017 ending activity would be. And if you look at the chart, or if you look at the file provided, we started the 2016-17 year with a fund balance of $42,862,451. The expenses in this fiscal year, if we look at our operating budget, we have favorability of close to $1 million. And from our committed budget, we've used almost $10.4 million. So that the $42 million fund balance, when we apply the expenses from this year, we now have an estimated fund balance, or we're now estimating our fund balance to be at $33,532,741. With this $5.7 million in projects, the estimated fund balance at year end for 2018 would be $27,826,524. Our minimum fund balance, which is recommended 3 months of operating budget, is $21,087,231. That would, taking our estimated fund balance for 2018, ending fund balance for 2018, and the difference between our minimum fund balance, would have an excess fund balance of $6,739,293. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mesa?
I guess a question for Dr. Rios. Is there a reason that we went for all 3 activity buses?
Yes, sir. When we look at our traveling patterns, take, for example, football. Football's going to leave at a certain time in the morning. They leave before everybody else. You need 3 buses to fit everybody. Otherwise, you're going to be taking a charter bus and an activity bus, which is still going to take a driver. When you look at UIL going to San Antonio, where they go weekend after weekend after weekend, and they take yellow buses. If you only buy 1 or 2 activity buses, then you're going to be sending a group ahead, and then another group's going to wait till 5, 6 o'clock when the routes are finally done and they come. So it is more expensive than buying 1 at a time, but you really don't have an impact on what you provide for the students if you do 1 or 2. To get the best service, the best impact to the school day, it would be a minimum of 3. Otherwise, we're just creating more problems. Who goes first? Who goes second?
Okay. I just had that question because I seem to worry with the 3 months expected fund balance that we have. I don't know, it'll come in. But anyway, we're coming kind of dangerously low, and I don't want to be below that, the minimum 3 months that we need to have. I guess my other question would be, I know that, we are recouping, we are recovering the money for the roofing project, which is all covered by insurance. So it's not deducted from the total amount of committed funds?
I'm not
Yet.
sure I understood your
I'll
question.
answer that.
Okay.
The money that you see here, the $260,000, that's not our money. Well, it is our money now, but that is money that we got from the insurance.
Fine, yes.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be in fund balance.
Okay.
That's just where the money goes. Now, we will have additional recovery from the insurance. It's what they call the depreciation when the work is completed, but that money comes right back. This is just money that the insurance had already sent, that we budgeted, but we still have some projects left to do. Minimal work, but we still have projects.
So we should see that amount increase?
It'll be a break even, Mr. Rose. We're not gonna make any money off the insurance because we made sure that we used every dollar possible to make sure every roof was fixed.
Okay.
Now, what we're gonna see is no more leaks anywhere, and that's exciting.
Okay. Those are my only questions.
Thank you.
Looks like high-level numbers, but I think the overall project mix looks appropriate, so.
I had just two quick ones. On CTE, they're requesting the welding arms and the HVAC and the sandblasting and all that. But in the wood working lab in the back, you've got the drop downs for the vacuums. We still don't have the tubes, the flexible tubes that you put next to the machines to suck the sawdust. So I know that was something I think that got accidentally left out or whatnot, and we've been open we're going to come on to a year now. So do we still need to order those, or what happened with all of that?
In those areas, and Mr. Henge, you can correct me if I say something wrong, but in the woodwork room, the biggest problem is that the design called for all of those vacuums to be turned on at the same time. You don't turn one on and then the other one. So the switches for each one, that's the problem on that one. Having flex hoses to extend from the actual hose where that's minimal expense. The way I've studied the problem now, if Mr. Henge would like to add something to that, he's welcome to.
Yes, I have been looking into that, and, the cost is around $3,300 for that whole outfit, so I didn't feel that was a capital request
Okay,
for this year, so it will be addressed, though.
but now we're saying that there's an electric issue and we can't even turn the thing on?
No, we can turn it on. We just can't turn one hose on at a time.
Right,
It's a whole
it's all,
system.
it's one massive
Right.
system,
But
right?
the hoses that we can connect to bring it down lower to where the work is, it's a minimal cost. So it would not go on this packet. We would just ask Mr. Henge to provide it from his budget. It's minimal.
Okay, because I know they went all last year without them and still turned out great work, but I think it's something that they need.
Right, I've been working with CT over the last couple of weeks to identify what their critical needs are, and that's how we were able to get these items in here to deal with ventilation issues. Plasma room has since been resolved. That was a configuration issue. So we are looking at what they had to deal with last year, and we're making improvements.
Okay, cool, thank you. And then the second one, and you might be answering this too, I know the original estimate you sent out for the stadium was really big, and we've reduced that by like $500,000. Is that because we have found that we're going to decrease the size of the visitor side, or we can do it cheaper with aluminum, or we're going to recoup some of that steel that gets cut down? Or?
No, sir, your first observation was correct. The stadium site never fills up to capacity. The most we get out of it is graduation. The initial quote that was provided was replacing from the end zone to end zone. We wanted to do something, if you've been to Bonfire, and I know you have, there's a huge structure that gets in the way of viewing the bonfire.
Mm-hmm.
We had talked about moving that one over to the east side,
Mm-hmm.
and reducing the size of bleachers. That's why there's a reduction in price from the original quote that we have been provided, which is, I believe, the one that they shared with you earlier.
Okay. Okay. And then, so if we do reduce, the only thing, we'll still be good for graduation.
Will be
All right,
perfect.
we won't, because I wouldn't want anybody standing. Okay, cool.
And we'll be perfect in size for graduation. And by reducing the size, our hope is, if you remember the restrooms and concession stand on the visitor side, and not so much the concessions, but the restrooms are very small. By reducing it, it would allow us to, in the future, build a comfortable, at least restroom area at that end where we're reducing the size, and it'll be a total upgrade.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Any other questions on the commitment? No? Recommendation?
Thank you.
Can
It
I
is the
I'm sorry,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to be clear. The part that we added here that nobody asked about was, administration intends to continue studying the problem at the middle school. So we added, nobody asked anything about it, we added the $50,000 for the architect to continue that work. And I just want to point that out because it's something that is very important to the administration and the success of the students. So I just want to be clear that that $50,000 is to continue to work with the architect. We've done the RFQ, but we haven't selected an architect for the lack of funds. So moving forward, if this is approved tonight, we would continue that work.
Okay.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution committing the fund balance of the General Operation Fund.
For the recommendation, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
First by Mr. Trevita, seconded by myself. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. D, consideration to approve the general fund budget amendment for 2017-18 commitments from fund balance. Ms. Valdez.
Thank you again. The report on page 17 has listed the projects that were reported under the last agenda item, yet now it has them categorized by functional level. On the second column, that is the balanced budget that was presented for fiscal year 2017-2018. The third column would be the commitments column, which is a $5,706,218. And the fourth column would be the budget that would be the total budget at functional level that will initiate the 2017 school year. So we'll initiate setting up the budgets for all of these projects this next week.
Any questions?
I don't see the architect expense.
It is under function 81. We have Laughlin Elementary Magnet School, roofing projects, and architect.
Okay.
And I just want to point out that the return to work stipend, I have it grouped under one function, but as soon as we identify it by employee at the functional level, we will make a reclass during any one of our, or the December board meeting.
Any other questions? Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the general fund budget amendment for 2017-2018 commitments from fund balance.
Heard the recommendation, I so move. Is there a second? Ms. Lozano, any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to you and your team. It's all over and done with.
Thank you so much.
Feel free to take tomorrow off. It's okay.
I am. Thank you.
The next day.
Take Monday off too. That takes us to 14 closed session. At this time, the board will recess into closed session. If a final vote is required on any matter considered in closed or executive session, it shall be taken either upon the reconvening of the public session covered by this notice or a subsequent duly posted public meeting as the board shall determine. This evening, specifically pursuant to 551.074, discussion of personnel or to hear complaints against personnel, and 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. Discussion of the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, resignations, and reassignments. 2, discussion of salary adjustments to include but not limited to the following justifications: service credit, master's degree, stipends, salary matrix adjustment. 15, no, we're not there yet. Sorry. All final votes will be taken in open session. We are now in closed session. All right, it's 7:36 p.m. on August 31st, 2017. This board will reconvene into open session. No action was taken. 15A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Ms. Garcia.
Mr. Oberfeld, Dr. Rios, members of the board, administration recommends Erica Garcia as registered nurse for freshman campus.
Heard the recommendation, I so move. Is there a second? Ms. Lozano. All in favor? Unanimous, carries. B, salary adjustments. There are none for this evening.
No, sir.
Okay. Nothing under superintendent's report. Therefore, being no further business before this board, is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Mesa, seconded by myself. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.